Elijah, Andy's son.
Hello. Okay.
Familiar face. Welcome back.
Yeah, goated episode, most viewed, no big deal. No big deal. If you just go on the UPD podcast and you
See
just
how Elijah starts with
most
humility.
watched,
Yeah.
So I want to talk about humility.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. My favorite quote on there, I don't have it. It's the Chesterton one where he talks about dead things will. Oh, there you are. A dead thing can go with the stream, but only a living thing can go against it. If I remember the context of that quote right, he's talking about the church, and he's talking about the history of the Christian people and the way the world around us will change, and the way that we resist that and we stay different than the world is by staying alive. So if we change, it's a sign that the church is dead and weak and empty. But if we stay the same and if we resist, it's a sign that we're actually alive and something is happening. And I'm drawn to that resistance language, the way that C.S. Lewis talks about men. He uses this medieval word, chivalry. And he's talks about King Arthur and Lancelot. And I'm like, yes, this is so sick. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Totally, I'm a knight. Thank you, C.S. Lewis. You're right. Somebody give me a sword right now. That's how I feel. But he says that a real man is defined in someone who holds these two paradoxical virtues at the same time, that you can be aggressive, strong, while also being meek and humble at the same time. And he says, that's not natural. Nobody does that on accident. If you want to be the kind of man who can be those two opposites at the same time, that's going to be really hard and it's going to be really intentional. And he says the story of humanity is men choosing one of those over the other. And he says it's like a endless cycle where, barbaric men show up, they tear everything down, they burn it all to the ground, and they rebuild, and then they become soft. And then the next group of barbaric men comes, and their cycle just goes on and on and on forever. And the only real way that men can build something that lasts is through being both of those things at once. Building something, he says that those two groups, there are the wolves who cannot understand and the sheep who cannot defend, who aren't strong enough to defend the things that are worth enjoying. So wolves are just ravenous and they destroy the stuff because they don't get the things that God has made that are worth enjoying, and the sheep are too weak to protect it. So it's like getting in the, where I'm not the destructive wolf, but I'm also not the helpless sheep who can both defend and enjoy the things that God has made and given me. And so for me, I'm always wondering, how do I engage in that resistance, that fighting back against the world that's changing around me? And there's so many cultural options, and so many people who play into the either we need to be sissified Christians who are oh no, I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. I'm sorry if the gospel offended you. I wish the Bible didn't say that, honestly. If I could change it, I would. I hate that God doesn't let you do that. It's that's so cringe. But the other side of just yeah, me and God, we both hate you. So you repent, I don't care, honestly. You're going to go to hell, though. So maybe you should do something about that. Both of those things just suck. And so I want to figure out what's the real way to resist. And the Apostle Paul, he says to Timothy, join me in suffering as a good soldier for Christ Jesus. I'm yes, let's do it. He's don't worry about the opinions of the people around, but only the commanding officer. And the question is how do you engage in that warfare? And in Ephesians 6, Paul talks about putting on the whole armor of God, right?
Yeah.
And he does this whole analogy about, we don't fight against flesh and blood and we're soldiers for Christ. And I'm that gets me hyped. But if you read the whole book of Ephesians, the way that he says that we do that is by being good husbands, by loving our wives,
yes,
by, being really hard workers, by having a good work ethic. Those are the two things that come to mind for me, because I've been married for 7 months and I'm trying not to be an ADHD loser who never does anything important. I want to work hard and I want to love my wife. And Paul's that's how you kill the devil. That's how you win. That is how you resist. That is how the church stays alive. And that's how our message stays pure, is that we have to rock at those things, those small mundane things that feel insignificant. That's how we win the cultural battle as the church. And so for me, I'm I'm a preacher, and I can be I preach 100 sermons a year and they all freaking crush. And so I can check the box. I know how to get a middle schooler at the altar confessing of their sins. I can do that. And then I can be I'm amazing now. I don't need to worry about anything else. But if I come home and I suck as a husband and I'm selfish, that was been probably, I've only been married for 7 months, but the last 3 months I look back and I get to the end of a couple months and I'm reflecting, I did a lot of ministry and I made some money for my family, but I was selfish and I wasn't attentive to my wife's needs. And I put my own emotions above hers, these things, these signs of real weakness. And I'm what? That in Paul's eyes is what gets the kingdom built and what kills demons. I'm like, dang, I'm prioritizing the thing that looks sexier, the being like the man of God, and not the being a servant to my wife and loving her. So I'm always challenged by that and trying to become a better man for that reason. And it's like you said, Johnny, that what blows your mind is people who will lead in public but not at home. And it's because real leaders, they want people to become like them. And if you're not leading at home, when you're leading in public, you actually don't want people to become like you. And so for me, if I'm going to lead people, if I want God to trust me to influence people, man, holy crap, I want to become a guy worth imitating. Like Paul says to the Corinthians, imitate me as I imitate Christ. Like he's like, no, don't imitate Christ, imitate me. I'm better at imitating Christ than you. Like, man, I want to be able to say that if I'm going to disciple people and lead people, that when I'm on stage, who I am on stage and who I am at home in front of my wife, those are the same guy.
Yeah.
And actually, she gets better than what people get in public. She gets the best version of me.
Yep.
You know, that I want to be able to honestly say those things. So that's all I got.
I love that you say that. My wife often has said to me in the past that I've worked at getting better at is everybody gets the best version of you, and then I get the leftovers. And it's so easy for us to be like, but I'm out here killing it for the family, right? I'm out here killing it at work.
I'm not running to the bars.
Nope.
I'm not.
You trust me.
Gambling.
I'm faithful. I'm working at the church.
Right.
50 hours a week on top of my job. Look at everything that I'm doing. And she's like, yeah. But what about me?
What do I get?
What do I get? And so being able to sacrifice, because the reason why we do those, because those things are fulfilling for me.
You get a lot of attaboys.
Well, yeah, but I'm doing it for God. And so sometimes the things that I'm doing for God are still to edify the pride of my life.
Yeah.
And so the thing that can be good becomes a thing that's perverted. And I have to get those things. That's my disordered affections, right? And so, son, if you could just keep that mindset for the rest of your life, it'll do well in your marriage. I wish I had started earlier.
Yeah, I've landed on the stuff that I do that's impressive to other people is significantly less important to God than me doing the mundane things like washing the dishes for my wife when she's had a long day.
Yeah.
If I can't wash the dishes, God does not give a rat's southern end about how good my sermons are. There's no way. And I can't like check myself out and be like, well, these character qualities I need to build don't matter because I show up and I give and I serve. You know, I'll go on a ministry trip all week and then fly home Saturday night, get in at 1 a.m, and then wake up and be one of the first people at the church to serve all day. And I can be like self-congratulatory about that. But who freaking cares if I'm not actually a good man in my heart? Who cares if my motivations aren't pure? Who cares? You know? So I
love that you're struggling with that, bro.
Yeah.
Like, it's really awesome that you are. And that, again, you said I've only been married for 7 months. But for you to already start identifying some of these places that can get worse as the years go on, and if you fall deeper and deeper into those patterns of ignoring your wife's needs and just pouring directly into your preaching, you're only going to get further away. It's so great that you've barely walked any distance and you're already seeing them. You don't have to walk that far back.
Yeah.
Like, what a great deal. Good for you. I love that.